Hello, my name is Alan, and today we are going to talk in regards to the recent statements by Robert Mueller on his work as a special counsel. I think it's good that he came out and tried to clarify what exactly happened, because we know Barr didn't want Trump to be found guilty of anything as a member of the Department of Justice, because we know Barr's a lackey of Trump. He don't care about actually doing what's right. But as far as the Mueller investigation, the way he puts it is, for any signs of collusion, they could find not enough evidence to make a veritable conclusion. Which means, yes, there were things that were happening. There was clearly efforts to help Trump, but nothing we could come across and say, yeah, there's definite proof when you put it all together of collusion. However, and Mueller said this, he felt it necessary to point out any probabilities of obstruction while going over the investigation for collusion. And I think that's where the biggest part of this lies. And apparently that's what Mueller felt as well. And if you look at it over and over and over, Trump did what he could to really keep himself out of trouble. But often it was through less than legal means. So, there's clearly obstruction issues, collusion. From the beginning, I never really felt there was anything you were going to prove on collusion. And that's pretty much what happened. Mueller said there were things, but not enough that we could attach together and say, yes, there were definitive signs that this was a collusion, a colluded attempt to steal an American election. And again, that's kind of how I felt. I mean, there was things that looked really bad, but not enough you could say it was collusion between the Russian government and Trump. There were still things the Russian government, I feel, did to try to help Trump, but they weren't going to go out of their way. Oh, like, we'll toss you a bone here and there. see if we can kind of get you in there instead of Hillary, but we don't really care. We just want someone who will be more favorable. And you will be compared to Clinton. And that's pretty much the way it was. You know, Russia, there wasn't any actual collusion going on, but it's like, we'll do stuff to help. But again, there wasn't enough to tie anything together, and that's basically what Mueller says. He couldn't find proof to tie together a case of collusion. However, the varied amounts of obstruction were far greater. And to be honest, it's really because of who Trump is. He has to get rid of evidence or hide what he does. He's been very gangster life his entire career. And so, yeah, it's just, let it be. You know, if things happen, let it be. But the fact is, we know Trump will obstruct anything that he's afraid may shine the wrong kind of light on him. I mean, that's just the way he is. He's petty, he's whiny, and so yeah, obstruction you were going to find because it's all over the place. It's just who he is. Collusion, not so much. And so I think it was a smart move on Mueller's case, on Mueller's side, to actually not only look for any instances of collusion, but to pay attention to the obstruction, which honestly is a much more likely issue with a Donald Trump. And does it call for impeachment? I would say yes. Anytime you try to obstruct justice, yeah. I mean, they tried to obstruct, or they tried to impeach Clinton over land deals and could find nothing except, hey, he was getting these sexual favors from interns and secretaries and stuff. And that's what they tried to go after him for. And so they put him in impeachment for that. So, yes, obstruction of justice is clearly something that is worthy of impeachment proceedings. I mean, one of the largest obstruction issues of all time, the Saturday Night Massacre by Richard Nixon, led to the probability of him being put through impeachment proceedings that he resigned. Now, I feel Trump's too arrogant and petty. He'll never resign. But the obstruction of justice, big enough issue that there should be impeachment proceedings brought forth. I mean, honestly, whether you're Republican, Democrat, it doesn't matter. You know, you need to go after someone when there's clear violations. Which is why I kind of laughed at the whole Clinton thing. The land deals and everything were fine, but if you couldn't find anything on that, then let it go. But no, they wanted something on them. So these little sexual favors, because of that, they tried so hard to pull him down for. I'm like, you don't have proof of anything better. Honestly, it's ridiculous. But yeah, I really feel obstruction of justice is a serious enough issue that he should be put through impeachment hearings for it. The only thing that kills me is we're so partisan nowadays that there's going to be people in his party that won't care. Honestly, he uses the example himself, but it's pretty much true. He could go shoot somebody and they wouldn't care. It's just the way they act. I'll admit, I'm one of the first ones who don't like Trump, mainly because he's racist. He's a complete and utter moron. He's a buffoon when it comes to policy. He's an outright utter asshole. But if he at least did things for the people, to help the people, I wouldn't care. But that's not the case. With a tax cuts of over $1 trillion, of which 80% went to the rich, pulling out our parts of our national monuments so that companies can drill and search them for fossil fuels. It's pretty clear he's not for the average person. Honestly, look at it and think about it. Yeah, collusion? No. And even Mueller says we see instances where Russia did help him, but we didn't find enough that trails together to verify a case of collusion. And like I said, that's kind of how I felt. Russia was doing things for them, but it wasn't enough to verify that, yes, they colluded together to steal an election. And more or less it was, we'll do things for you. They weren't going to go out of their way to get them done for him, but they were going to do things. Hackers, memes, you know, releasing information, small stuff like that. Uh, but anyway, and on a second note, I feel I must remind people again of the First Amendment. We shall make no laws respecting a religion, or preventing worship thereof. So, freedom of and from religion. So you're free to worship and believe religious texts all you want. But when you start pushing your religious bullshit on other people, which is why I'm so angry with the anti-abortion bills that have been going rampant right now. Because if you're doing them via religious beliefs, it is a clear, definite, and utter violation of the First Amendment. Period. And honestly, that's all I can see it is for religious beliefs. Because if you look at it on scientific terms, you would understand that yes, it is a better idea to have abortion available for women because it is their choice as it is their bodies. So these anti-abortion lunatics essentially are pushing these laws for one reason: violation of the First Amendment. It's ridiculous. But they're so willing to, my God says that you're wrong. God, it's only the Bible. God. Yeah, I'm sorry, but your anti-abortion beliefs, if they're tied to religion, are a clear and utter violation of Amendment number 1. Shall make no law respecting religion or preventing worship thereof. I mean, it's right there in the First Amendment. Thomas Jefferson, he was our third president in the United States. He was the head of the University of Virginia, helped found it. He was governor of Virginia for a while. And when religious groups pushed for him to, preach from, to speak words of the Bible and stuff, he said, I can't remember the exact words, but it's essentially, he told them, look, you have the freedom to believe, to worship. I even believe in the Lord myself. However, we should not push those beliefs upon other people. And again, it's kind of paraphrasing what the letter said, but it was written to the Danbury, Connecticut. Was it just the church or bishops? I can't remember. But we've had an issue with religion trying to rule this country for the longest time. I mean, if we wanted to get rid of religion or get rid of abortion through religion, why don't we become extreme Islamists? They believe the same way. Get rid of abortion because that's not your right to get rid of the child. Honestly, I wish the U.S. would push down a more secular path, but I understand the idea of pushing for freedom of religion, because the idea was not to persecute anyone for their beliefs. And it was one of the first changes they made, one of the first amendments to the Constitution. Because you don't want anyone forced to believe this, to have to believe this, or have to not believe this. You're that's the whole idea, is that you're free to believe how you wish. But it just bothers me when the religious groups want to push their ideas. It's against the First Amendment. Read your Constitution. Our Constitution. It's in Amendment 1. Right there. Read it. It's ridiculous that they want to push their religious beliefs. Why don't you go become an extremist? You don't have to be an Islamic extremist. Be a Christian extremist. That's basically what you act like, is Christian extremists. Because you're wanting to attack our freedoms, because you believe we should be worshiping your God. Personally, I have yet to see viable, definitive proof that there is God, that God exists. You know, the one online priest who says, "Prove to me God doesn't exist." You don't prove negatives. That's not how that works. It's upon you. If that's what you believe, that they exist, you must prove without a doubt that your beliefs are real if you truly believe in them. You don't prove a negative. Prove he doesn't exist. That's not how it works, you. You moron. I'm sorry about the stain on the shirt. I just ate before I hopped online here. I had some baked beans and spilled a little bit. But anyway, it bothers me when they want to use their religion as a club to try to bash people over the head. If you want to worship your God, if you want to believe in your God, go right ahead. You have freedom of worship. It's the whole First Amendment is freedom of and from religion. Let me read it to you again. Hold on. I'm going to pull it up here. Read it to you directly. Amendment. Not a mint. Amendment. First Amendment of the United States Constitution. This is of the United States Constitution from 1789 with a revision from 1992. Amendment 1. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion. That right there means we have freedom from religion. But it has a comma and says, or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. That means you can go to church, you can believe, you can worship as you wish. So you have freedom of and from religion. And just to verify the rest of it, comma, or abridging the freedom of speech, comma, or of the press, semicolon, or what? No, that's a comma. Yeah, comma. Or the right of the people peaceably to assemble comma, or to petition the government for a redress of grievances. So right there, our government can make no law that you have to believe or worship anyway. So you're free to go to mosque. You're free to go to church. You're free to go to synagogue. Or you're free not to believe. But do not push your beliefs on others. We have freedom of and from religion. So again, as I was saying, if these states are trying to push these anti-abortion laws through religion, no. It's violation of the First Amendment. And as I said, honestly, if you try to believe in it scientifically, you will eventually, more than likely, come to the conclusion that it's a woman's choice because it is her body. And because as of that point, the organism growing within her is not yet a baby. It is a fetus, a collection of cells. I mean, honestly, and a lot of people probably don't like this point of view, it's a parasite, wholly dependent upon its host. Think about it. It's clearly not symbiotic. It is parasitic. I know it's an attempt to grow and reproduce, but more or less it exists in a symbiotic form. Not symbiotic, but parasitic form until it is born. But it isn't viable to live on its own, to be on its own. Honestly, it's after birth that we need to pay more attention to these children in the first place. But that's when most of these religious zealots are like, I ain't giving you anything, get off my food stamps and any other money and taxes I pay. But welcome to life. I abhor the stupidity, the assholery from the religious right. But yeah, I just had to rant again. And I'll see you all again for the next video, which maybe, well, it would be my Saturday weekend review series. But after that, maybe we'll have another congressional donors video. I'll see what I can get together. I've now got a little calendar where I can start adding videos, writing them down and stuff, so I can feel a little more organized. But anyway, as always, educate thyself. I'll try to have the sign up some point here, but think, study, read, learn. Educate thyself. Number two, as I said, I will see you all again in the next video and try to have that up. Like I said, it'll probably be this Saturday. We can review, which I'm behind on it again. I've got to get that done. But until then, later.